So today I'm going to be doing a self-evaluation on myself and the whole course and what I've learned. So to begin the agenda for today, we're going to discuss three different things. We're going to discuss the concepts, a self-evaluation, as well as a self-reflect. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the different concepts that I learned. There was a total of 4. So I'm going to talk first about the management efficiency ratios. There were 4 that we learned. I think it was the second or third class, and it was the cash conversion cycle, receivables turnover, inventory turnover, and asset turnover. As you can see on the left, there is the formula for all 4. This was really good for me to learn and just use them in a different way compared to the way I had used them in previous classes. And in class, we had also done different examples for them, which was really helpful in understanding where to use them and what to use them for. The second thing I learned was capacity, which we used in the Lafarge case as well as in the Connect activities. So capacity implies an attainable rate of output, for example, 480 cars per day, but saying nothing about how long that rate can be sustained. So it's about how long you can sustain something, the attainable rate of output. As it says, and then with that came the best operating level, which is the unit cost is minimized based on the level of capacity and production design. So basically ensuring what is the best level that you can make something to ensure that the amount of money that you are putting into the product is the least amount. So moving on to the other 2 concepts, the first one is enterprise resource planning, or an ERP. And this is a computer system that integrates application programs in accounting, sales, manufacturing, and other functions in a firm. So this is from chapter 9 from the Connect Labs. And how I will use this in the future is actually the job I got when I graduated uses an ERP system called SAP, as you can see in the top right-hand corner. And with that, I will have to integrate this system into my day-to-day activities at work and ensure that I'm using it properly. So that's really exciting. And then the 4th thing I learned was economies of scale. So it's basically, the definition is here: as a plant gets larger and volume increases, the average cost per unit of output drops due to lower operating and capital costs, because a piece of equipment with twice the capacity of another piece typically does not cost twice as much to purchase or operate. So basically ensuring that you're getting the right amount of equipment for the right amount of inventory that you need, and making sure that you're not overspending or underspending. Okay, so now moving on to how will these concepts affect supply chain within the next 5 to 10 years. So it's really important that companies monitor the changes in demand in order to meet supply. So we can see this right now with masks and wipes with the coronavirus outbreak, that there is a huge demand for these items, and suppliers need to work more, they need to hire more employees, and they need to create more inventory in order to meet the demand that is being projected for these items and the longevity that these will need to be available for. And to do this, they need to have effective forecasting methods, and then they need to have enough inventory in case there's a drastic increase in demand over a short period of time. So this can be seen with toilet paper. People started freaking out that toilet paper was not going to be readily available, so people went and stockpiled, to which there was a huge shortage, and people that needed toilet paper, for example, 2 days from now, everyone went and stockpiled, so those people couldn't have. So there needs to be enough inventory. The companies need to have kind of like a safe holding inventory in case there's this influx in demand that happens really, really quickly, in order to meet that demand, like big box stores like Walmart and Home Depot that need these items. And then companies also need to overcome their failures quickly. So if they're unable to meet the demand this week, they need to be able to meet the demand next week. So what do they have to do in order to effectively meet that demand? They can hire more workers, they can open a new plant, they can increase their hours, so then the shifts are longer and they can produce more. Anything that they can do to overcome the failures to not lose money. So moving on, next I'm going to discuss self-evaluation. So I'm going to be going through the 6 items on the left, as you can see, giving 2 specific examples for those items, and then rating myself on a scale of 1 to 3. So the first item is you mastered all the key concepts. So the two concepts that I chose were management efficiency ratios and capacity planning. These two were used both in the Lafarge case as well as in lectures and group discussions that we had. And then I think that I mastered all the key concepts just because I completed all the Connect labs and did very well on those and reading all the chapters. So I give myself a 3 as I've done this. And then moving on to the second one, so you actively participated in all class activities. In class activities, I did share different viewpoints and actively asked questions. However, I gave myself a 2 because there were times where I didn't attend a lecture, so I was unable to actively participate. The third item is you prepared well before coming to class. I completed the Connect labs of specific chapters before coming to class, and then I also prepared the weekly news before I went up, just in case I was picked that week. I also gave myself a 2 here because there were lectures that I missed, so I wasn't able to prepare all the time when I was going to class because there were some weeks that I missed. So you supported your team member and class to have a wonderful learning time. So I participated in team alignment when I was there, and I continuously collaborated with my group for the LH case. So that meant constantly discussing with them via text message or via call, whether it was calling the whole group or just calling one team member. So I gave myself a 3 for this because I always did that, and I think I communicated effectively with them. And then you actively applied a creative way of presentation. I think our presentations overall throughout the whole semester were pretty good. When we had our presentation, we had good graphics. Sometimes we had funny little cartoons. I know when we had to introduce ourselves, we were Ninja Turtles. And then we also had very clear, concise presentation with minimal words per slide. It wasn't very overwhelming. It was very clear, and then we just elaborated based on those 3 points, like 3-4 points. So I gave myself a 3 for that, for always doing that. And then I actively proposed a new and innovative solution recommendation for the team project. I negotiated deadlines with the LH team and like the leadership team there, and I also tried to gain better knowledge of the case through problem-solving meetings. So that was like team alignment, or whether it was texting someone else from a LH group to find out what I need to do for a certain project, but I wasn't that innovative when doing it, so I gave myself a 2 for that. So now moving on to self-reflection, some powerful example of soft skills that I used or learned were time management, leadership, communication, work ethic, and flexibility. A lot of these pertain to the group projects that we had throughout the semester. And I can say time management I used not only in my group to ensure that everyone was doing their part and making sure that we could all collaborate together at some point, whether that was through a Skype meeting or text or a call, to make time for them, and also doing the Connect labs and not leaving them till the last minute, which would have been yesterday, March 31st. I spread them out throughout the semester. And then leadership, I definitely used when we had the team alignment for the Lafarge case that we did in class. I definitely shared my concerns and spoke up to the CEO team specifically when I was not happy or needed some more clarity. That also goes hand in hand with communication, to communicating with my group and the CEO group to ensure that I was doing my part correctly and that we were following all the guidelines that they wanted. And then also my work ethic and flexibility, just making sure that I was able to work my hardest. I'm definitely a hard worker, someone who does not take assignments lightly and puts a lot of effort into them. So I feel like that definitely showed between the deliverables that we did and just between like how quickly I finished the majority of the Connect labs. So now specifically talking about the Lafarge project, 3 things that I felt I did really well on, as previously mentioned, is I communicated to the CEO group. I think I was a leader amongst my team in ensuring that we were doing everything properly and communicating between all group members, and then also meeting deadlines on time. So we never handed in anything late. Me individually, I never handed anything late, and then also communicating to the deadlines the CEO group had set. We met those as well. So the action plan, I'm going to take these learned soft skills into the workforce, into my new job. I definitely did consider myself a leader before this class, and I will continue to be a leader through all walks of life, and then also share the knowledge I learned with others. So all the concepts that I learned, like I said, with the ERP system and SAP, using that to my advantage in training and different work opportunities that I get, or new work adventures, or just in daily conversation, just sharing what I had learned through school. Moving on to the last area of self-reflection, which is areas to improve. Two specific areas I think to improve upon are communication and staying positive. Some things about communication that I'd like to mention are, I think I'm good at communicating my ideas, but I think the way I communicate, I can come across as really mean and short-tempered, especially when I'm just like shut down right away without an explanation. So if someone just tells me like, no, we're not doing this, and not explaining to me as to why we're not doing something, I will get very angry. And I think my communication definitely suffers when that happens. So I think I need to improve on how I deal with that and how I can also communicate to others like nicely that I don't understand what you're saying, or give me a reason as to why, in like a non-attacking way. And then if that happens, then hopefully communication will be better, because I get very defensive. And then my other one is staying positive. So kind of going hand in hand with the communication piece, staying positive in a situation when something is either super difficult, I don't understand, or I get very frustrated with other people. It becomes very difficult for me to just be like, you know what, this is gonna pass, it's gonna be okay. I tend to just see things in a very negative way. So yeah, I think those two things I need to work on. This is very specific to the LH case, when it was difficult for me to understand certain things, or for me to understand exactly what was needed from me, or why something wasn't working, like why something was wrong. And I think for each of these areas, it'll take like 1 to 6 months to improve. I think the positivity piece is a lot easier than the communication piece, because if something if something gets shut down, it would be easier to just be like, you know what, it's okay, it's gonna pass, as opposed to being like super negative in my head. That's more like an internal thing that I have to deal with, but the communication piece is how I reflect upon others and how I look towards other people and how I end up affecting group members when I communicate. So I think that'll be the harder piece, which will probably take about 6 months to deal with and to get better at. And that is all. Thank you. The rubric and my self-grading is on the next couple slides.